is coming to me, these great souls go no more to the misery and death of earthly life, for they have gained perfection. Look at Revelation chapter 3, and now look at verse 12. Him that overcomes will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. See it? Do you see that everything I've shown you that Krishna has said this morning, the Bible has said the same thing? And then finally in 86, the worlds with the whole realm of creation come and go, but O Arjuna, who comes to me? For him there is no rebirth. Wow! Did you hear what he just said? Being born again is not a good thing, is it? Do you know it's not? You know that everybody says, I'm born again. Do you know that's not a good thing? Do you know that the only ones that Jesus told how to be born again were religious people? He saw this guy Nicodemus coming up with all of his robes and all of his staff and all of his Bibles. He had Bibles big enough to choke a mule. And he comes up and he says to Jesus, what do I have to do, kind sir? And Jesus says, oh, fakakta, with you, the only thing to do with you is get you born again and start it all over. And that's what he meant. That's what he meant. Ain't no way you're ever going to make it this time around because you got all of this junk in here. But once you get it, and a lot of people say, well, I don't think he meant that. I think Jesus was speaking of spiritual things, but he said you must be born again. Let me show you what. Let's go to the man. The promise said, the last word. But let's go to the man himself and look at his words. Go to page 866 when Jesus told this guy, you must be born again. And was he talking about spiritual things? Look what Jesus said. And I say he's talking about reincarnation. And I can prove it by the words of Jesus Christ himself. In John chapter 3, okay? And if you go, John chapter 3, after he tells him you must be born again, in verse 12, what has Jesus said? If I have told you earthly things and you don't believe it, how shall I believe if I tell you heavenly things? You must be born again until you catch on to it and understand it. You're going to come back and come back and come back until you get it right. And that's the magnificent thing. Nobody's going to get screwed up. Eventually, everybody's going to get it. Nobody's going to go down the tube. And it's got to be that way because, you know, my mind sometimes thinks crazy things. I know you don't. Well, I mean, I do. And I didn't ask for this. Did I check in before I slid out on that tray in this hospital somewhere and say, I'd like to have a crazy mind, please. A little sexy, you know. It just was there. I don't know what it is. It just happened that way. So it's no blame me. And in the same way, we're learning in the culture today that people who we may not particularly agree with do not necessarily ask to be the way they are. We better learn to come together and to understand this, glorify the Spirit of God who is within us, and come into a oneness and live in the new beauty of this new age of Aquarius. Thank you very much for sharing this time with the Bhagavad Gita.